today's video, I speak to Barry Aldridge. He is a YouTuber who has over 6,000 subscribers and he speaks about a range of subjects. He also is a games producer and does voiceover for games, and he's working on some insane projects at the moment. Barry has autism, and in this video we speak about the challenges he's faced growing up, how much autism has changed for him over the years, how autism affects him currently, and what employers should be doing to support people with autism. We also speak about his time in school, what made him get into YouTube, and also get into game producing and voiceover for games. We also speak about some of the effects that autism can have on an individual and how it's affected Barry and how it's affected me. But we also talk about how people should be supporting people with autism in those situations. Hi guys, and welcome to another video of the MaxiAspie special series, The Autism Connections. And as you can see by the intro today, I am speaking to none other than Barry Aldridge. Barry, thank you for speaking to me as well. It means a lot.
Pleasure. I'm glad to take part in this. Whatever. When I heard about it, I was like, why not? Because you wanted to collab with me, and this is a good chance though to do it, my friend.
Exactly. I suppose my first question is, with everything that's going on at the moment, with coronavirus and everything, I mean, how is it affecting you?
I'll be honest with you, before the coronavirus business started, I stayed at a hotel in Southampton and I ran out of money, so I had to stay indoors quite a bit, and I was a bit annoyed by it. So I've gotten used to the lockdown situation around about that point.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't been easy for a lot of people, so especially people on the autistic spectrum. There are some of those who would find it a bit hard. I found it a little bit difficult. I think the last time I did a proper outing, I think it was like the 14th of March, though, to one of my local town centres.
Okay.
And other than that, I've been still being able to go to work because I work at right around the corner from me, so I'm able to still go to work. But there is some doubt there, sometimes. So. But other than that, I've been really cool. I've been trying to catch up on a lot of different things as well. Been watching a lot of Blu-rays and trying to get streaming done. YouTube, you name it, just to get through the days, really, to be honest with you, pal.
I mean, how do you find I've always been obviously interested since this whole thing has started, obviously, how do you feel people are being, towards you? I mean, working in a shop, do you find people are a bit more rude, a bit more aggressive, or do you think people haven't changed a lot? Or
before the lockdown began with the bulk buying, there were some situations where people were, let's say, not the best in human behavior. But once the lockdown came down and we started to introduce a rule like we're only allowed a certain amount of people at a time, it's been really good. But mainly most people have been very, very good on that front. But I thought I'd just bring up the negative notion about that. People have asked about, was there any situation during the bulk buying situation? Yes, there was. But that's all I can say on that matter, really.
I suppose it's difficult as well, because obviously if you've got like an invisible condition, people don't see it, and people are just panicking and bulk buying and getting agitated, as we all are. We're all in a kind of uncertain kind of time. It's kind of that awareness again. Like, it kind of goes out the window, doesn't it? Because everyone's kind of panicking in their own bubble.
Yes, and I will mention on top, I'm trying to be positive about the whole situation with everything, because I realise that, it doesn't lead to anywhere. From my experience, I feel like it's not the way to go, though, all the time, though, really, to be honest.
I mean, I'm asking this question as well to everybody. Obviously, I'm aware, but just, I suppose, for people that are watching, what is your connection with autism?
Okay, my connection with autism goes back to when I was a kid. It's very, very hazy memories. I think I got the diagnosis around about age of 3 or 4, I think, around about 1986, 1987. This was during a point, I think autism was starting to come out a bit more, but it was still kind of like, when I did this thing for BBC Three, we agreed upon with my partner there at the time No, she wasn't my girlfriend or anything like that, but my partner who we were doing the discussion with, we said it was like an underground club, like, you know, when people used to go raving back in the 90s and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, going to dance clubs, garage clubs, you know, in the early 2000s, that's what it felt like, you know, during that time. It was like our own little club. And as you know, the news has spread over the years. Like, originally it started off that mainly guys got it, and then suddenly, though, it turns out women can get it too. And yeah, and I was sent to a special school, and strangely enough, there was, when I watched, I think it was the A Word, season 1, about the character who got the autism, there is close connections, and my mom and me found it was a bit too close to home sometimes when watching it. I found it okay to watch, but it felt like it mirrored what was actually going on in my life. Instead of it being set in the countryside, we were living in the city of London during that time.
Wow.
So
it is a different, it's all different environment as well, isn't it, that can make the difference. You know, I don't think personally I would have probably dealt as well with my, you know, my autism than if I was in a city. You know, I think I'd probably be going, yeah, meltdown.
Yeah.
Do you have any like other conditions as well, or is it just the autism diagnosis?
I think it's just the autism diagnosis. I thought I had some other things over the years, even in the last few years. At one point, I actually thought I had diabetes for some reason, but other than that, no, to be honest with you. Not that I can know of. Maybe some slight bouts of depression, but it's just normal bouts of, you know, people getting depression or anxiety or anger with certain situations.
I mean, tell me about yourself, you know, so I suppose, you know, what you were like when you were younger, you know, what you are like now, you know, what interests you have, what hobbies, you know, what do you like to do, all that stuff, really.
Okay, with my younger self, I was very, very fascinated with animation. I was very, very fascinated with Doctor Who. Wrestling is another thing, because I know, yeah, we both have that common love of wrestling, definitely. I've got an Eddie Guerrero t-shirt on today, that sort of retro.
Brilliant. True story, when he died, I cried my eyes out, and I didn't believe it, and cried for like a week when Eddie Guerrero died.
During that point, I'll tell you another true story about with Eddie, you know, before we go back into it. Round about that point, I had appendicitis, and then when Eddie died, and I read his diagnosis that he didn't defeat his demons of alcohol, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to drink anymore, and because I didn't want to lose another organ. And so eventually, in the end, I did that, and I haven't drank since. Probably once, though, back in 2007 to celebrate the fact that I'd done it. Then after that, I haven't drunk ever since. So I think Eddie did inspire me to do that sort of thing. Going back to the original question, other than that, I think I was really into sports when I was a bit younger as well. Not as much, though, nowadays, but I still have that passion for sports every now and then, especially with football, because I used to go with my brother to football matches, to go and see Millwall FC. And they weren't too bad to go to, I'll be honest with you. I even been to an FA Cup final in Cardiff, I will say that. It was in 2004, but it was the most one-sided final, mate, so I don't want to talk about that too much, to be honest with you. It was between Manchester United and Millwall in 2004. Yeah, it's a one-sided final, no question. But the experience of being at the Millennium Stadium was just incredible, really, to be honest with you, my friend.
How does like noise and things affect you, you know, with sensory, you know, does noise affect you as much, or... You know,
I think it depends about the mood I'm in, to be honest with you. Usually okay with it. It's just every now and then the noise factor could be a bit of an issue, I will be honest with you. But I've been perfectly fine, to be honest with you. So I think it's just only with my workplace sometimes if the noise gets a bit too much or it gets a bit unbearable, especially when I'm doing bakery, that could be a bit of an issue. So
I mean, I don't know about you. I always find, though, if it's an environment that I'm comfortable in, an environment that I'm interested in, a lot of the time I will forget about the noise. You know, so
yes.
You know, when I went to watch wrestling, when I went to Mania, you know, last year, you know, and
wow,
you know, the noise, you know, it was massive. It was, you know, but it didn't, you know, affect me. But I can walk into a shop and there'd be loads of shoppers and things going crazy, and that will affect me more than 80,000 people, you know, screaming. You know, it's mad. Now, what's the most difficult experience you've kind of gone through, you know, with autism and I suppose with people?
Probably certain people who work sometimes for certain agencies who think they know about autism, and I think they got a good knowledge of it, but they don't fully understand it. That's the thing, though, really, in my view. I think they are good people trying to do the right thing. But at the same time, I feel like they may not know the full grasp of it or whatever. So, yeah, I think I'm just trying to I just try not let the negative stuff get in my way, mate, to be honest with you. That's the best way forward, really. Like I said.
What's like your favourite, thing to do? What brings you, I suppose, the most joy?
Oh, yeah. This is a bit more harder because if I was a bit younger, it would probably be a certain amount of toys, video games, and that. But I've grown. The greatest thing is when I was at university, I learned about change very, very quickly because autistic people cannot deal with change rapidly. And when the change was rapidly happening in university, I got used to it. I was like, wow, anything could actually happen in a blink of an eye. And I was able to cope with that a lot better. So to have multiple interests has actually been a great thing for me, to be honest with you. No, one week I could be watching Doctor Who. Now I could be watching wrestling, which I'm actually doing at the moment, wrestling marathons. Probably some old sport things that I used to watch when I was a kid. Probably some PS4 games, a bit of live streaming here. Maybe talking business with people. List can be a bit endless, and it just helps me out eventually. But a bit younger, it would have been a bit more of a struggle. But I think I've learned to adapt to deal with all these different situations at the end of the day.
And growing up for yourself, I suppose the next question is, what did you find hard, about growing up? Obviously through school must have been, I suppose, tough at times, what kind of through, growing up did you find hard?
I think you hit the nail on the head with school, because when I started at a special school, it was a bit easy. But then when I went to a mainstream school, I found it very, very tough to talk to the other kids because it was like they were on a different level sort of thing. But the guys accepted me in a little bit towards the end of my primary school days. And
you feel
I think they realised.
Near the end. Did you think the school understood you near the end?
I think they did. Because they realised that I had someone, that was looking after me to make sure my learning was actually okay. So I think they did in the end. And I think it was the same with secondary school, even though I may have not noticed the bad stuff. But to be honest with you, I was like, I'm like that though nowadays, to be honest with you.
I mean, so leaving school and I suppose college as well, what did you find, I suppose, the hardest thing to kind of get your head round? I always felt when I left school and college, I always thought it was going to get easier, and if anything, it got harder. And that was kind of hard to grasp my head round. I mean, what did you find hard about, going, I suppose, into the world, I suppose?
Sometimes it will kick you down and do it quite viciously and quite hard. But I'll be honest with you, like I said, I kept on picking myself back up. And like I said, with uni, I actually was learning about the rapid changes. And then when I got used to that, I got settled in very, very quickly. I think it took like maybe a month or two or something like that to realise that, at the end of the day. And I knew I wasn't going to let anybody stop me.
I mean, what made you always kind of want to get back up?
I think it's more my family, because when I had my brother around a lot, he always made sure that he had my back at the end of the day. And I'm looking after myself a lot more easier though nowadays. So I don't need my brother that much though at all, even though I do miss him. And the more important thing is my family, friends telling you, hey, you can do this and that and the other. That's what motivated me to do like YouTube videos back in 2006, 2007 to keep me going, because they realized they felt sorry for me and all that. Strong friendship, strong bonds, strong family, strong connections. It's not going to happen for everybody, I will admit. I know, that everybody's lives are very, very different. If you have at least one strong friend and you have some strong family connections, I think you'll do absolutely fine in that. Sometimes I have some roughs and tumbles with my best friend, but you know what? It doesn't matter. As long as we have a common ground and we actually really like each other and we're still friends with each other, even if we have different sets of friends and that, we're all good though in the end, mate.
It's about having that support network, isn't it? Some people don't have that, but at the same time, if you have it, it can be a big thing in your life. What advice would you give to people like teachers, employers, and government about autism?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would say to them, don't think of autism as a simple, don't think of it as a simple game. Think of it as a world map where this country of autistic people are the savants. And then you go down to another country, say like on the other side of the world, are the ones that have trouble speaking or have trouble listening or have trouble knowing what's going on with the world. And then there's another country that might be in between that maybe have the mild diagnosis like I do. I don't know about with you though, Max. With you might be in... you seem to be on...
growing up, I was always kind of taught there's a line of autism and, there's some people here and there's some people here, and then there's some people here. But
Yeah.
I mean, since I've been doing a lot of ambassador work and government work, I've actually learned that actually there is no line. You know, I don't think there's anything like highly autistic or mild autistic or middle. I think of autism as an umbrella, but I think of it as an umbrella. And some people are here, some people are here, some people are here, and basically, I just think it affects us differently. You know, as you say, some people might not be able to speak, but then those people might be able to go into a shop in a busy environment and be able to do their shopping without anything affecting them. You know, some people,
Yeah.
you know, as you say, you know, might not be able to go into a shop, but can talk, you know, freely and have a conversation like me and you are. So I tend not to, you know, measure it. And the only reason I say that is because I know so many people who have gone for an autistic diagnosis, and the doctors will then not give them the diagnosis because they're kind of measured, you know, on, oh, you know, she's not like, I know a case where a woman said, you know, the doctor said to her child, you know, she's not enough autistic, you know, so it's like, what is enough autistic? You know, how do you...
I know.
Do you get, you know, it's a bit like when someone goes, oh, you don't look autistic. It's like, well, what does autism look like? You know, it comes in shapes and forms and, you know...
Yeah, just to tell your viewers, just in case, if you ever watch this BBC Three video called Things Not to Say to an Autistic Person, that's the very first question. Just to mention, I'm actually in it for your viewers. You might know I'm in it, but just for your viewers, I'm actually in it. And you would not believe the answer straight when people asked it. They were going, oh, for sake, and all that sort of stuff like that. They went hard and hard.
That is one of my questions for you today, is what phrases and things people say about autism do you hate? Because obviously I know you've said what in that video, I mean, but if you just had to say one, you know, what's the one that makes you go, oh,
what was the one that... I know there was a question I was asked, and I remember reacting to it. I think it's like autistic people could try to be normal if they could be normal if they could. And I remember they did put my response in the video. I said, I get this a lot. But yeah, that's right. Autistic people could be normal if they tried. That's the one I got quite a lot during my teenage and probably early 20s. Nowadays, it doesn't come up that often. And another thing as well, just a well-known fact, I remember in the recording, this is a deleted scene. I was with my female colleague. She now is a journalist. And one of the questions popped up. I popped the paper out. It says, boys are more likely to get autism than girls. And oh my God, I just let her throw the answer. I said, balls in your court. And then she just gave an answer. And I said, and that was it. That was the thing that I can remember from a deleted scene.
I mean, it just comes to show you, though, how we have moved some, you know, some way forward. You know, there's still some facts that I read out there, which is women are less likely to get autism. And it's like, no, it's not that they're less likely. It's the fact that they don't get diagnosed with it because people think like that. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so the advice I suppose you give to people, you know, with just getting back to that one, you know, people with teachers and employment and government about autism, what advice would you give to them, I suppose, to, you know, what do you think they could, I suppose, do differently, you know, to help?
I think, that's a good one. Maybe learn about certain things or whatever, actually talk to the people on the spectrum and not just focus on the experts all the time. Because I think the experts, there are some good experts out there that might have 80 or 90% of good knowledge, but the other 10% is like there's something new about it. Because I'll tell you another story. When I went to a Channel 4 screening for a show called Are You Autistic, there's a guy called, I think he was the guy that gave me the diagnosis for autism back in the day before he actually entered Cambridge University. And he said, yeah, he learned a lot of new things from that documentary, especially about female autistics. He actually openly admitted that on the panel. That he said, yeah, he learned a couple of new things with that documentary and how he helped out with the documentary. That things have changed, really. So I was impressed as well at the end of the day. The invite was sent by someone named Carly Jones, who has actually got an MBE for helping out autistic people, especially for women. And I'm really, really proud of Carly for that, seriously. And I actually met her before she actually got her MBE. So I was like, yeah, I felt happy for her when she got her MBE.
I mean, that's amazing. At least, as well, it's important that there's people out there. What's the biggest issue, I suppose, you face today, with your autism?
Probably for me is just trying to get people to understand that it's not a simple thing. That's the only thing. You know what? They do understand the basics, but at the same time, they have to go like, there's a bit more to it than that. But other than that, I don't let it affect me now. I remember when I was at my shop and I was wearing the sunflower layer sort of thing that she did. And I had a customer ask me about, she actually asked the right questions. I leave it until someone actually asks me about it now. And she was really interested. I said, it's because of, hidden disabilities, especially autism. And then she actually just asked me the right questions. And there are some people that will ask the right questions. Not everybody, but there'll be one or two people that are willing to ask because they know, I was looking after them well behind the till, like serving them and that. And I was like, you know what, I can be open and honest with her, like on that. And she did not mind learning a couple of things. I don't mind if she took anything away from it, but it did feel good though when I did that though, really. And I just wished you a good day as well. You take care of yourself afterwards and that. So,
have you got any news or plans coming up?
Okay, I've got a lot of different things that are actually happening on the table. The YouTube thing, I have no idea if I'm going to carry on with the video sort of thing as we're actually recording this. I've done a podcast with someone named Thomas Heenley. He won a Commonwealth Olympic gold medal at the age of 17 in Taekwondo. Google the name and you'll probably get an idea about who he is, and that's the guy who I did it with. I'm also helping out on quite a few video game projects. I'm a producer for a game called Dark Side of the Moon, which is hopefully going to get a release very, very soon. They got a publisher, but I can't reveal that, unfortunately, though. Really, we have to wait until that comes down to it. So sorry, guys, but probably by the time this video does come out, they probably might announce the publisher. And if I do, you'll probably get to know. And that I will be doing a video about who the publisher is at some point. I'll be doing a history thing because I've got a good relationship with even the publisher. When I found out it was them, I was like, oh my God, that is great. That's really awesome. But before that, I've got a game called, the game that I'm producing, that first game I'm producing, it's called Dark Side of the Moon. And it's from Teana Studios, made by one guy named Darren Hall. He's a really, really good bloke. And then just before that, I've got a voiceover part for a game called Dark Nights with Poe Monroe. It's done by Del Vecchio Studios. Probably by the time this interview comes out, the trailer and the release date will be available. I think it's coming out on PC and Mac. They're trying to find a publisher for the consoles. I hope they do get one, or they self-publish it themselves and then they can get 100% of the royalties, because that's one of the good things about being an independent company and that. Although sometimes when you sign with another publisher, they might ask for more of the money and so forth and all that sort of stuff. And then the other game I'm helping to produce, I know the proper name, but I can't reveal the name at the moment because we want to keep it like top secret. Hopefully that's going to come out at the end of the year, if not early 2021. But I think, he wants to get it out by the end of the year at least. And I think and they're all FMV games, which stands for full motion video, where you make interactive choices and that at the end of the day. And
those games, I love those kind of games. Like Heavy Rain and what's the other one that they done? It's a woman who had kind of supernatural powers, a girl.
Oh my goodness. Now, on the podcast with the guy Thomas that I did, he had the same thing. I'm going to tell you the same story. The guy that I'm working with to get the game out at the end of the year and early 2021, Super String, his name is Jamin Smith. He actually helped to market Life is Strange.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. He actually helped to market it because he's actually a global brand manager for Square Enix. You're the second person to actually mention that game, and I'm not making this up, guys. I'm being genuinely honest. I'm not doing this just to try and build some hype and all that sort of stuff. He actually helped to market that game, and you are the second person to get caught out by this. I am not kidding. In the podcast, my friend Thomas couldn't believe it, and now I've shocked you as well, mate.
That's amazing.
I just could not believe it. I was like, oh my God.
And these games you're working on, they're going to come on to Xbox and those platforms, are they?
Dark Side of the Moon hopefully will come on Xbox, because the good thing about independent gaming is they're going to try and get it out on all consoles and that. So it is going to come on Xbox, mate. Dark Nights with Poe Monroe, they're hoping to.
Okay.
And the game I'm doing with Super String, at the moment it's going to be a PC mobile game, so you can get it on Steam and that. but we'll have to wait and see. He wants to find the right publisher to do the right business at the end of the day.
Makes sense.
Because the great thing about working with some of these companies, I've learned more about the business side of things, because when I was a bit younger, I'd be more on the personal aspect. But once I've gotten close to some of these people and how they do business, I started to understand the business side of things as well. And just one more thing as well, with my friend Jamming from Superstring, he's hopefully going to release an ebook soon about how to make a game with zero budget.
A lot of people will be wanting to get that as well. Would not know where to start, so it might be something I need to look at as well. Well,
cool.
Thank you for coming on and talking. I learned a lot, and it's amazing to hear that the stuff that you're working on as well. I'm looking forward to when all that drops, when all that comes out.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the interview. I've always wanted to have a chat with you. And just for everybody who's watching Max as well, do check him out. He is a really cool guy from the chats we've had, even with today, and through our private messages as well. And I wish you nothing but the best, mate. And I wish you good luck with these interviews.
Give